Derbyites, in the race for drama series at the Emmys this year, I think it's game over. Game of Thrones is going to win that, and we just saw the season finale. I saw it yesterday, and I'm still thinking about it. Was blown away, and I can imagine that with such a strong season, Emmy voters are going to have no choice but to give that Emmy to Game of Thrones for a second year in a row. What do you guys think?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
What?
You're absolutely wrong. Well, first of all, I have not seen the season finale yet, so, don't spoil it for me like Orange is the New Black was. What?
You need to leave right now and go watch.
Go and watch it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, silence. That's good. Why am I? Who else said I'm wrong? Ralph, did you say I'm wrong?
He really left.
What?
Wait, what are you guys talking about? Game of
Ralph,
Thrones.
Are you saying that?
Did I say you were wrong?
I don't know.
No, I didn't say you were wrong.
Oh, so it's just Charlie. It's just Charlie. He's wrong.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely wrong. It's going to be House of Cards.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
Charlie?
No, it's going to be House of Cards.
Young. So young.
It's going to be House of Cards. It's the more relevant, one.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm holding
actually with
on.
Charlie. I originally, until last night, my Emmy vote was going to House of Cards, and I had House of Cards as my prediction just because of the relevance, because of the election, because of all that stuff. But holy hell, that episode last night, if you're an Emmy voter and you watched it and then you voted for Game of Thrones last year and you were even kind of like on the fence like I was because I didn't like the first half of this Game of Thrones season, I thought it was really kind of poor and just lazy. That episode was outstanding. Like, it was the best episode that show has ever done. The score was incredible. Everything about it, the script, the direction, the cinematography, everything was just perfect. So I shifted now my thought of I love House of Cards. It's great. It's relevant. But after last night, I mean, those last 2 episodes in a row of Game of Thrones just blow everything out of the water.
Yeah.
Right, and the voters are voting still. I think today the last day or tomorrow.
Yeah, today.
But right now,
Right.
they're voting for nominees, so they only pick 10. So the greatness of the episode really won't come into consideration until the second round of balloting.
It's not going to come into factor that second round either. Get it through your head, Marcus. That doesn't matter anymore.
Listen, I get it. I've been totally on the House of Cards train as well. I really understand where you're coming from, Charlie. But does it really matter that we're in an election year? Is that all that matters, or is it about artistic merit, about what they're actually judging? Because
I don't think it hurts.
It
I
doesn't.
don't think it hurts. I mean, you're over there in your, little Aborigine hut, not with your little mud hut, because, and you don't understand the greatness and awesomeness that is the American election right now.
I think
So,
really well.
I think I just really turned this into a rant about how everything sucks compared to us, but I think it really is just. It just feels like they really hit the nail on the head this time. I think they just have the right kind of momentum, and I might be proven wrong. I could change, but as of right now, and having not seen the Game of Thrones season finale, I think that House of Cards is still the one to beat. I think it's not gonna lead in nominations, but I think it's gonna do very well, and I think that's the one to beat right now.
To be fair to Rob, I think Rob knows way more about the American election than most Americans do.
Thank you. That's because
You realize you're talking to me about this, right?
yeah, but you're not most Americans. But I think that Marcus,
Although I count as 2.
Fair enough. Now, the thing is with House of Cards, and we've said this in our previous Slugfest, it is a little bit of an afterthought now. It premiered on Netflix a while ago, and it doesn't have the same heat, and it won't have the same heat that shows like Game of Thrones, and especially shows like Mr. Robot, which will be airing its second season as the nominations are announced, which will help that. So there's another show that's in the mix, Mr. Robot, and that's one of my favorite shows, and the show that I was saying last year, that's going to win next year. I'm not even saying it's going to win anymore because of Game of Thrones, how impressed I was by the finale and the second last episode. What do you guys think about Mr. Robot?
What do we think about what?
Generally, Mr. Robot. What are the chances for Mr. Robot?
I think it'll get a nomination, and I think USA will be really happy with that. I don't think anyone's really predicting a win there, but you know, it could get a lot of tech noms for sure, like editing, score, stuff like that. And I think Rami Malek's in, I think Christian Slater's in, but as far as wins go, I don't know if it's going to be, you know, a big winner come Emmy night.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think this is where the popular vote kind of screws up some stuff, because I think if you were on a tape system and you had Mr. Robot submit 6 of its best episodes, they have 6 incredible episodes they could submit for that series. And if it was still on a kind of a panel basis, I think it would have a legitimate shot to win depending on its selections. But since it's a popular vote, I don't think enough people have watched it. They know about it, but they haven't really seen it. It's on USA. I don't think it really stands a chance to win. But I mean, you know, without it, if it was just a judging panel still, I think would have a pretty legitimate shot.
Yeah, that's critical actually, Ralph, and that's why I think this is really House of Cards versus Game of Thrones, because most people have seen those two shows, most voters will have watched them, and on Emmy night, depending on what's nominated, we're thinking a little bit ahead now, obviously with wins, but on Emmy night, I can imagine you'll be hearing the Game of Thrones and House of Cards theme song quite a bit. But going back to the nominations, they're the 3 shows that are really, I think, locked. And then we have 2 others that most of us seem to be predicting. That's Better Call Saul, which had a great second season, and Downton Abbey with its final season. Do you all agree that those 2 shows are also pretty much locked in for nominations?
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I think of all of last year's nominees, I think 6 are eligible again, right? Because Mad Men's out.
Yeah.
But I think all 6 could be back. I think Orange is the New Black may be on the bubble.
Mhm.
But I think Better Call Saul is going to be back, and Downton Abbey is a shoe-in. I mean, the Emmy voters love Downton Abbey. I think they could get in like Hugh Bonneville and Michelle Dockery, and Maggie Smith could come back.
Yeah. That's a definite possibility. None of us have Orange is the New Black. I don't, Charlie and Ralph, can you just confirm you don't have Orange is the New Black in your 7, do you?
I do.
I do.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I stand corrected. Marcus and I don't, and many of the editors and experts don't either. So season 3 was divisive. Many people thought it was okay. Some people didn't like it, and maybe we're kind of projecting that thought onto what we think Emmy voters will think. Maybe they also would agree that season 3 was not its best. What do you guys, Charlie and Ralph? What do you guys think about Orange is the New Black? You've got it predicted. Do you think it'll just be inertia? It's just going to be nominated again?
I think so. I think also it's just one of those things. I think it's the factor about, like what you said, Mr. Robot. The new season has just premiered, and it's very much in the zeitgeist right now. So I think that'll help it, even if they don't like even if they weren't crazy about it. I think they'll like it enough that they'll have it somewhere on their list.
Okay. And Ralph, do you agree?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, you have this season, which is probably its most critically hailed. It was really great. I'm not sure if you guys seen it. It's been out for a week already. It kind of reminds me of when Breaking Bad's first season that it won the Emmy 5.1, when it split that season into 2. When the second season was airing and it was just outstanding. That first one was okay. It wasn't great. But it seemed, you had a lot of that kind of momentum from the show going that kind of probably pushed it over the edge for that first Emmy win for drama series. Orange is the New Black has been nominated before in comedy and in drama. I mean, if they wanted to drop it, they could have dropped it when it made the transition over to drama. Still thinking that it was a comedy from last year. I think I'm not saying it's safe, but I think with all of the buzz still surrounding it, it just got picked up for 3 more additional seasons. Like I said, there's still a week left of Emmy voting when it premiered, a week in like 2 days or something. I don't see them dropping it that easy. It's not like it was atrocious or like really critically panned for them to drop it. And I just don't see, I know you guys have The Americans, but that's 5 seasons in. I don't see just out of the blue all of a sudden them embracing The Americans.
One last thing about Orange, like it went from season 1 it had like a dozen nominations, season 2, and I know there was a genre switch, but season 2 it went down to like 4, right? 4 or 5. That's very telling. And since season 3 was not very strong at all, I think it could go even lower. But I mean, Ralph's right. Season 4, the one that just streamed during voting, is really, really good. It's the best season they've ever had. So maybe voters, I mean, some voters may be confused. Maybe they're thinking they're voting for season 4.
Yeah.
In the comedy, on the comedy side, it had the most nominations, but it only won 3, and they were all in the Creative Arts Emmys. When it went to drama, Uzo won in the big ceremony. So it kind of has that to balance it out. But also Netflix, when they sent, I'm sure you guys saw Netflix sent 4 boxes, huge FYC boxes. Well, one of them that was sent different was Lionsgate and Netflix teamed up to send an individual Orange is the New Black full season of season 3 FYC packet. So it got its own kind of shout out. So I just don't. I think it's too big. It's a completely women-driven, diverse cast. And you know how much they love diversity at the Emmys, especially after the Oscar backlash. And last year they got so much praise having Viola Davis and Uzo Aduba and
Regina King.
Thank you, Regina King win. I mean, I don't really think they're going to drop it that close just for a spy show that stars 2 white people.
I think that's actually really good arguments from all of you. Season 4, people on my social media have been raving about it already in the last week, and I didn't watch the last half of season 3 because I was so bored, and now I'm going to binge it so I can watch season 4. And there's more arguments for that than there are for something like The Americans or Homeland, which is what I have in 6 and 7. I love The Americans. I'm cool on Homeland, but the argument for Homeland is it's nominated all the time. It'll be back, and the voters like it. Okay, great. And The Americans.
They dropped it once before, though.
They sure did, and that was
dropped it once.
Yeah, for that really, really weak season. Remember, so that's a really good call, Charlie. And then The Americans is so critically acclaimed. Many of us just believe that the Emmy voters will finally catch up. But is that really a good enough argument? Probably not.
No.
Why I'm wavering so much on those two. So what else is there?
No.
Last I checked,
you need to change that because they're not gonna. I just don't see them doing it, and I think the safer bet is to err on the side of what they have done versus what they haven't done. They haven't even recognized The Americans higher than anything in the Creative Arts ceremony, and even then it's been minuscule. The one win it's gotten has been. Oh yeah, that's right, the writing one. I apologize for that, but the one win they have is one of the more ridiculed wins we've had in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So I just gotta say, if they haven't done it now, I'm not going to predict it until I see it happen.
Last I checked, I think Gold Derby has 19 experts. It's always rising. It may be 20 now, but I think 12 of them, which is the majority, are picking the Americans to get nominated, which is very interesting because there's never been this much support from Gold Derby. And it got all those TCA nominations last week. And keep in mind, Friday Night Lights didn't get nominated until season 5. So it does come late sometimes. And this is only the 4th season of The Americans.
See, the thing is with Friday Night Lights, I love those arguments. That's why I have it in 7th. But with Friday Night Lights, its actors, like its main actors, did receive some recognition in the years prior to, and with The Americans, it's just been blanked so badly, apart from Margot and apart from one writing nod, and which was like an anomaly almost. And the writers always come up with these really awesome anomalies, like Battlestar Galactica and Buffy. So I never count what the writers vote for, even though that's my favorite category. But yeah, I'm going to take The Americans out, and I'm going to put Orange is the New Black back in. And Homeland, I think, is just going to turn up because it had a kind of okay season. A lot of people really enjoyed the whole Germany season. So yeah, I don't think anything else is really going to break in unless you guys have got a really good idea. Maybe Billions or something like that. But I'm skeptical about Billions.
And then also on The Americans, I mean, how many Golden Globes nominations has it received?
Yeah.
0, right?
0.
The Golden Globes out of everybody, I mean, to not embrace that show, I mean, I don't know. I just don't see, like Charlie said, you just err on the side of caution and go with what Emmy voters have shown you in the past.
Exactly.
Because it's a Hail Mary for them to get into that 7th spot.
Yeah. Every year at
my
Gold Derby, we do
seventh
like a contest, and I always talk to the winner of the contest and say, how did you do so well in your nominations? And they're like, oh, I just copied last year's nominees, and then if someone wasn't eligible, then I replaced them. But I mean, maybe that's the way to do it. It's so sad to think that way, but maybe that's the way to do really well in your predictions.
I mean, for my seventh nomination, I have Narco. I just threw Narcos in there.
I
I
would
might
love for that to
change
happen.
that at some point,
Yeah.
but I just threw it in there. Yeah.
Okay. Ralph, you're nodding. Do you think that that's a possibility, or are you not? Are you not on that?
I think it's a long shot possibility, but I think it is a possibility. If you're gonna say that House of Cards aired too long ago, I mean, Narcos came out last August, and they did have a few FYC events, but it's been so out of the picture. I mean, unless Emmy voters are going like open that huge Netflix box and watch just Narcos in particular. I think unless you're a huge fan, they're not really checking it out. I had it on mine, but I mean, mine's all over the map. Mine's all hopeful, a lot of hopeful stuff. I don't know. I think it's a possibility. I would love for it to happen. It has pedigree. It has like snob appeal, right? It's in the news. It's about, I mean, Sicario did well at the box office. It was about drug lords and everything else. Maybe this one will pick up too. And then I think, Rob, real quick to your point, guys, the four of us who have done so many of these, if you go back to last season, when we go back to like after the predictions and after all of our Slugfest after, where we're complaining about how bad we did, we always say, why do we like go with a hope and a prayer on some stuff? Why don't we just stick to what we already know, because it's the easiest way to get everything right? And to Marcus's point, like that guy said, whoever told him about that, and we always complain about how we overthink these things, and here we are doing it again.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, I might take out the Americans then and put in Orange is the New Black. I think
we're
you guys
going to do that. So let's move on to drama actor. We don't have to go through all the names because we'll be here till Christmas, but we generally think that this is Kevin Spacey's one to lose, and that's, I think, a pretty safe call. And Rami Malek is kind of nipping at his heels, and then you've got people like Bob Odenkirk and Paul Giamatti and maybe Damian Lewis and even possibly Kyle Chandler returning from Bloodline and maybe Bobby Cannavale and then Leah Schreiber. And then I think they're the major ones, guys. Do you think there's anyone else apart from who I've named that has a really honestly good chance of getting a nomination?
Aaron Paul.
Okay, yeah. And he can just...
Aaron Paul, he's someone who the Emmys took a real shine to, and for a first season for a new show, just having that sort of pedigree with them is a good enough reason for me to see him being nominated.
Okay, I think that's
not to mention he's actually really good in the show.
Yeah, whether you like the path or not, I think if Hulu was going to have any traction at the Emmys this year, it'll be for an Aaron Paul nomination and perhaps maybe nominations for Casual and 11/22/63. But the path and Aaron Paul are their best bet, and that's a really good call. He's won 3 Emmys, right? He's Emmy royalty. So yeah.
I think, are we all predicting Kevin Spacey to win?
I'm not at the moment. I have him in second, but I'll change that. I can see that is a silly. For me to put Rami Malek in there is just kind of being hopeful, because that's just whatever. He'll be nominated, and at least I'll be safe there. But Kevin Spacey winning makes a lot of sense.
Because that was going to be my question: is if you were a voter, who would you vote for? I think I would actually vote for Kyle Chandler. I mean, he's so good in Bloodline, and season 2 of Bloodline just wasn't even. I mean, it's okay, but it's not as good as season 1, and I would still vote for him. He's absolutely amazing.
Really? Wow. I haven't seen it, so that's interesting to know. Ralph, what about you? Have you got anyone in your list that we haven't mentioned?
I don't think so. Oh, I actually do. I have Louis C.K. for Horace and Pete in there.
Oh wow.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know why exactly, other than he's Louis C.K. They love him, yes, in the writing categories more than anything else. But I don't know. I just can't shake this thing of like, sometimes the Emmys just go for what they know, who they like. If you're going alphabetically and C is up at the top, on the ballot, his name is there. They know him very well. I mean, I don't even know who I'm missing. I have Kevin Spacey, Bob Odenkirk, Rami Malek, Louis C.K., Leah Schreiber, and Paul Giamatti. So I don't even know who I left out of there, because you guys don't have Louis C.K., so there's somebody that we're not connecting on. But I just have him in there and Horace and Pete. sent out their for your consideration screeners pretty early. Marcus wrote on it like 2 months ago because it came out. It has an incredible cast attached to it. People seem to like it around Hollywood. It's there's billboards and everything for it. So I don't know. I just have this. I don't know. It's Louis. He's not in the comedy side. They love when they see people jump from comedy to drama. I mean, point out Uzo from last year. Why not have Louis up there again and have him get his like umpteenth nomination?
Yeah. We didn't talk about Horace and Pete. We should have, because I wouldn't be surprised to see Horace and Pete in drama series, honestly, to be honest. Like, I was blown away by that, and I won't be alone there. There'll be a lot of voters who will be really interested in putting that in there because it's something so different. We're going to see a few acting nominations, perhaps for Edie Falco and Laurie Metcalf and Alan Alda. And Louis C.K., that's not a bad call. I won't be surprised at all to see that happen, and that'd be really cool.
I think I don't have the ballot in front of me, but I think Horace and Pete has some nominations for, or is eligible for multi-camera stuff, like multi-camera cinematography or whatever those categories are. So would this be the first ever drama series that's a multi-cam that's nominated? How interesting.
He just breaks the mold completely, doesn't it? Typical of Louis C.K. to do that. People are really into that, so that's cool. Can we move on to drama actress just because we're running out of time? Generally, most of us have Viola Davis or Robin Wright winning that one. Viola Davis is probably the favourite, and that's fair enough. Then you've got people like Juliana Margulies returning, Kerry Russell. Some people have her name, which is kind of a surprise given she's never been nominated. Taraji P. Henson, Claire Danes, Shiri Appleby from Unreal. A few of us have Katrina Balfe from Outlander, that show, which is huge at the moment. If that's going to have any traction, it'll be probably for her. Who else? Vera Farmiga. Am I missing anyone?
Tatiana Maslany.
Okay, I missed that one. That's my fault.
Come on, she was nominated last year. I was waiting for you to say that one.
I forgot. There's none of the editors have her in that I'm looking at on the screen have her going in as a nominee. So that's interesting. No one at all.
Her nomination last year was such a surprise because
it was.
Season 1 and 2 is when people were like clamoring for her to get nominated, and she got snubbed both years. And I think her fans kind of gave up on her chances. And then all of a sudden, the Emmys are like, okay, we'll give it to her now when no one's clamoring for it. It was very strange.
Yeah, but she's a possibility. She could certainly return. I just think the heat's gone out of Orphan Black a little. A lot. But
I don't know. It just had its best season. It was 97 on Metacritic for this past season. She was incredible in it. It was basically all about just the clones. She is a past Emmy nominee now. She's nominated for the Screen Actors Guild, a Golden Globe, TCAs, Television Critics Awards. I mean, you stack that up against Kerry Russell, who some experts have in there. I don't see how they can think Kerry Russell is automatically going to sneak into something. And if Emmy voters had never seen Orphan Black before and they watched her episode last year, even just watched her episode and didn't vote for her, they saw what kind of weight she carries on that show and all of the different clones and personas that she plays, that actors appreciate that stuff. I mean, they love playing doubles and everything. So I'm sure that had as much impact going into this season as an auto check. I mean, like we said, Emmys love just to kind of repeat what they already know. They got Tatiana in there. They got a lot of good praise for it. Why not just put her back in there? And, same with Taraji P. Henson, Viola Davis, Robin Wright. I just don't see them going to Kerry Russell. Again, I think it's that Americans hope, but, I could be wrong.
There is a lot of hope. Charlie, what about you? Anyone at all that
Michelle Dockery. Do not count her out for the final season of Downton.
That's very likely, actually.
I think I have her in my prediction.
In fact, I would put her above people like Kerry Russell and Katrina Balfe, and because I
have her above Claire Danes.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. But Claire Danes had a really good season, and she seems to be nominated regardless whether they liked Homeland or not. But yeah, Michelle Dockery, it's the last season of Downton Abbey, and they really love that show. So, okay. Well,
is Raji on the bubble, or is she definitely nominated?
Good call.
She's definitely nominated, and she could win. The second to last episode of the season, that episode she was in she was great. She was incredible in it. It was about her son. No, I mean spoiler if you haven't seen it. Some of you may not even see it. Her son gets shot. She's in the hospital. She's a grieving mother. She has so much range and so much screaming and crying. It's a great episode for her. I think she's pretty much in that Empire thing that Tom did. Was just she was like her and Gabrielle Sidibe kind of stole the whole thing. There was a crap load of Emmy voters there at Fox. I think she's pretty safe in there.
I'm hesitant because of what happened last year. We all overestimated Empire, and it only got a couple.
We did, but then what I'm more hesitant on is Juliana Margulies getting in. I'm not really buying that. I mean, it could be like a Kira Sedgwick thing where they're just done. Like she's just not going to come back in, even if it's her final season. Won an Emmy before, she could be like. I'm not so sure that she's in there over some of these other people, even like Claire Danes. I mean, they didn't nominate her for drama series. They kind of dropped it everywhere else almost, except for Baranski and Cummings. I know, Rob, in your heart, you want her there and you want her to win everything and Good Wife to sweep. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think she's a lock?
No, she's totally on the bubble. In fact, I wasn't even going to have her in there. I think that they might move on from The Good Wife. I think the last season of The Good Wife, I'm sorry to say, was a mess. And the only Christine Baranski for me is a lock. And maybe Alan Cumming has a good shot. And maybe Josh Charles and Guest. And that's it. Juliana's going to have to...
They love Margot.
They do love Margot. It's a really competitive category, but yes, they do, and that's a possibility as well. She'll have 2 nominations in, because she'll be nominated for The Americans. She did nothing in that as well, and she'll still be nominated.
I think I submitted on the ballot 1 episode for writing, so I'm hoping. I think it's the finale too. I'm hoping they finally get.
I think that it'll be back for writing. It'll be back for Margot. Are we talking about The Americans, or are we talking about Good Wife?
Good Wife, yeah, Good Wife.
Oh yeah, The End, yes, was on the ballot. So it'll be back for hopefully writing, and Christine Baranski and maybe Alan Cumming. Juliana's going to have to be.
If they're submitting the finale for writing, it should not be in there.
Agreed.
It should not be nominated.
I might have the goodbye hug kind of thing. I just hope if Julia's nominated and she wins, I hope it's Archie Panjabi that reads her name and gives her the dramatic awkwardness on camera.
That would be so good if they could. You know what they should do? They should splice the 2 together. So she announces her name and splice it together, because that's what we're all pissed off about. But yeah. Okay.
Just one other person who should be in this conversation, I think, is also from Downton Abbey, Laura Carmichael. She really broke through this season. Even if you were never really a fan of her character, I think she won a lot of people over this season. And just for that episode, the second to last episode, when she calls Mary a bitch, we've been waiting 6 seasons for that, and when she did that, everyone was cheering in their homes when that happened.
Wow, in their bonnets. Cool. Well, I didn't see that, and I don't think I ever will, but thank you for reminding us that she is in the lead actress category, so that is something that we have to consider. Okay, well, look, we might leave it there. We could talk about supporting, but we don't really have time. We need to talk about comedy, so let's just come back in a few minutes, and we'll do the comedy side.